I have no idea how to improve my credit score. It's just not possible. Have you seen my credit rating recently? These are the types of comments that I get from people on a regular basis. So you might be in that position where you've defaulted on a loan. You might be in the position where you've paid a particular debt late, and as a result of that, you've got a bad credit report or credit score. And you're saying there's just no hope. Well, stick around until the end of this video where I'm going to share a few practical tips that you can implement right here, right now, which will not only increase and improve your credit score really fast, but in some cases it might even bump it up by 100 points. So let's hop on straight into today's video. So you might be saying, Lyle, I don't need to have a credit score. I'm going to buy my house debt-free or cash. I'm going to buy my car for cash. And while I believe those are great aspirations to have, the vast majority of people watching this channel might say, I'm not quite there. I want to do that one day. I want to trust God to be able to do those things debt-free, but I'm not quite there. So if you find yourself in that position where you believe that you're not quite there and you want to buy a house or you want to buy a car and you believe that you're going to have to use credit to be able to do that, it's important that you have a good credit score. So if we start right at the foundation, what is a credit score and who uses it? So your credit score is like a report card. So let's say you're in school and you go and you take a test. At the end of the day, the teacher grades the test and they say you've got an A or B or C. So based on your performance in the test, they determine how well you have done. Well, the same goes with your credit history. If you have gone out and you've had a credit card and you've bought things on credit, you've had a mortgage or you've had a car payment or a loan, they look at your ability in the past to pay the loan off. They look at how have you performed in the past, and if you've done a good job, you normally get a good credit score. And why it's important is because let's say I am going to lend you money or I'm going to provide the funds that you need in order to buy that house. I'm going to go and I'm going to review your credit score with one of the big credit bureaus. So I'll look to see, has he or she paid on time? How much? I'll look at your income factor too, can you afford it? But I'm looking at your credit utilization and I'm looking at various factors to determine whether or not you are a candidate to get my money to be able to do and purchase what you would want to purchase. And if I feel that you are a bit risky, if you don't have a good score, if your score is not that great, what am I going to do? If I feel that you will probably pay it back, but you might default slightly, I'm going to charge you a higher interest rate. So it affects two things. It affects, first of all, your ability to get the loan. And then number two, the next thing it affects is the interest rate that you're going to be offered on the particular debt. And why does that make a difference? Why does that make a difference? Number one, let's say person number one gets a loan for 10%. Person number two gets a loan for 2%. So yes, he or she's going to pay lower on the 2% compared to the 10%. But if you look at the size of the loan, if it's a loan of $10,000 or 10,000 Rand, 10% of that is 1,000 Rand. 2% is 2,000 Rand in terms of interest that you're going to have to pay back. And if you make it even bigger than that, if you go up to 100,000 or 200,000 or 500,000, it starts to add up. So the interest rate that you're paying, or the interest that you're paying and the interest in turn that you're going to pay based on the interest rate, could mean the difference between not only a couple of $100, but a couple of thousand, which could be used for other goals that you might have. So now that we understand the basics as with regards to who uses it and what it's used for, how do you improve your credit score? The reason why you're here in the first place. Number one, if you're starting out, the first thing that you're going to need to do is build your credit profile. So build a credit file. That's like somebody that's just starting out and they don't have any credit history. They're going to have to start building, like with a house, you build the foundation. So what do you need to do? Maybe get a secured credit card where you can go and buy certain things. And so you buy and you pay it off in time. And as a result of that, you start proving that you can pay your debts as and when they become due. Number two, very important, do not miss a payment. Because when you miss a payment, you are seen as somebody that's not going to honor your obligations for one. But the worst thing about that also is this can sometimes be held against you for up to 7 years. So if you don't pay on time, if your bills become past due, This could be put against your report card or your credit report or your scorecard for up to 7 years, and they'll say, hey, so and so doesn't pay on time, so I'm not going to borrow you money. Well, I'm not going to lend you money, so you're not going to be able to borrow money from me because you defaulted 3 years ago. So it could stay against your case for up to 7 years. The next thing that we'll talk about is credit utilization. So what credit utilization looks at is what is recommended out there by credit bureaus and experts in the field is that you do not spend more than 30% of the credit that's been made available to you. So let's say you have credit of 10,000 that you can access. They recommend that you only spend 3,000. Okay, so you might say, but I've already spent the 10,000. What do I do? You've got two options. The first option is my favorite between these two, and that's going to be to pay down your debt until it's $3,000 or less so that you're not using the full amount. Alternatively, if you've got the ability to increase your credit limit, then you could do that too, to be able to rectify the amount that you're spending in terms of the percentage. The one downside to the increasing your credit limit is the temptation might be there to actually go and spend more. So you're putting yourself actually into a worse off position than what you are today. So I would say rather pay it down. And in fact, I believe in paying it down totally each month until you don't owe anything, but you can actually get it down to where you don't owe any money, but you've still got access to those funds. The way in which I built my credit score, that's the next one. That's going to be to become an authorized user. So what is an authorized user? And this applies in the United States and might apply in the region where you find yourself in, but I know it applies over here. When I started out in the States or living in the States, I had a credit score over here of 0. Even though I had a good credit score in South Africa, my credit score in South Africa was good, but in the United States it was 0 because there was no history. I never borrowed any money over here. So they had nothing to go by. But when I married Brittany, she had a good credit score and I became an authorized user and I inherited her credit history. And as a result of that, my credit score jumped almost immediately to above 800, which is a pretty good credit score. And what did that allow us to do? It allowed us to buy a house using my income at the time on credit. We trusted God to pay it off. But as a result of it, we got a really good interest rate. So if I had not inherited her credit history and I was starting from scratch, and let's say I was the only one working in the house, our interest rate in our house would have been a lot higher, which would have meant we would have been paying for a longer time and paying more off in terms of interest over the period or the term of the loan. The next thing that I want to suggest to you is to check your credit score, check your credit report rather, on a regular basis. There are several credit bureaus in your particular region which will allow you to check your credit score at least once a year for free. It's important to check it for two reasons. Number one, or the first reason, is going to be to check and identify if there are any mistakes. So somebody might have handed you over and said, hey, he's defaulted on his loan or she's defaulted on the loan, when in fact you haven't. So somebody made a mistake in the billing department and all of a sudden you've got this negative tick against your name. And as a result of that, it's affecting the interest rate that you're being offered when you go out and you want to buy that car. The other thing that is also good to check is somebody might have stolen your identity. So they're going out and they're buying things on credit on your name as if they were you. And you are being held liable, but you haven't checked your credit score. So go out and check it to make sure that nobody is using your name without your permission and buying things on credit. And then the final point, or the bonus point that I want to throw out to you guys today, is get a secured credit card. And how a secured credit card works, and this is probably my favorite, is where you go and it's almost like you preload cash. So it's your money and the bank allows you to go and use the secured credit card to build your credit history. So you are spending money on credit, but you've got the cash to back it up. So as you spend it, you can settle it immediately. And the best part about that is you're going to build your credit score, but at the same time, you're not going to run into a position where you're going to default because you've got the cash available. The cash is actually backing what you allow to spend on that card. So just to wrap this video up real quickly, guys, if you apply these principles, I can almost guarantee that your credit score is going to improve depending on where you find yourself. Obviously, if your credit score is at 800, I can't say it's going to shoot to the maximum. Or if you have a credit score of 700, that it's going to shoot up to 800 immediately. If you've got a low credit score and you're like 500 and you're just starting out, these tips that I've shared can really improve your credit score by up to 100 really fast. But it's going to take commitment to these principles. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to happen to you, but what I can assure you is as you apply this, irrespective of where you find yourself on the journey, if you are using debt to be able to acquire things, if you apply these principles, it's going to result in you having a favorable credit score, which will result in you paying less interest in the long run, which results in you having more money to invest in other asset or income generating assets. The aim in my life is to be debt free. I'm using these principles with regards to getting out of debt. So I've got this, maybe that I've got a good credit score, so I've got good interest. So I'm able to get out of debt quicker because I'm paying less interest on particular items that I've maybe acquired on credit. So I'm able to pay that off and then get to a position where I can be debt free a lot quicker. That's a desire of my heart. It might be a desire of your heart. If it's not a desire of your heart, that's okay. My philosophy in life is do what you believe God is telling you to do. If you believe God is telling you to focus on another area as a goal and not to be debt free, but to focus on something else, then you do that. The key is to listen to Him. So as we close out this video, I just want to ask you guys to do two things. Number one, if you haven't subscribed, click subscribe to this channel where you can find more information on topics just like this from a biblical and kingdom perspective. And then number two, if you find yourself in a position where you feel that there's no hope, comment below, I need hope. And then reach out to me so that I can pray with you guys. And I believe that God is able to get you from a position of where you are today to where He wants you to be. So God bless you guys, and I look forward to catching up with you guys soon.